Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. I want to do a quick hitting episode, give you a little bit of a framework to think about how to build a business. So whether or not you're just starting off on your journey, you're thinking right now, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to launch this marketing agency. I want to have this product. I want to be a drop shipper or whatever it is that you want to do. Or maybe you already have a company. Maybe you're like a plumber or you have an HVAC company or you're in real estate. Regardless of where you are in the journey, I find it's really helpful sometimes to try to distill the complexity of whatever thing it is that we're trying to do into its fewest meaningful parts, because building a business is hard. It's complex. And if you let it, like, you could really go down into the weeds and get lost in the minutia of all the things that you got to do. And in the beginning, it's really particularly hard because you are the one that's going to be doing everything as the founder. And so maybe you have like your W-2 job right now. And so your business it's something that maybe you're still dreaming about. You're putting together your business plan or coming up with the idea, or maybe it's already a side hustle and you're out there, you're doing the grind, you're making some money. Maybe it's a full-time endeavor, right? Regardless of where you are in that path, let's take a moment just to break down a business and understand the three legs of every business, because pretty much every business is identical. They need these three legs of the stool. Without them, then the thing's going to wobble or simply fall over. And I find that when you think about it through this lens of the three legs, then you can start to order the activities that you need to do throughout your day in alignment with these things. You can start to pinpoint, oh, okay, now that I understand, like, these are the three legs, that's the leg that I'm missing, and that's why I'm struggling to grow. And then you can also take a look and start to evaluate, okay, which leg am I naturally predisposed to? And that's a weird way of putting it, like which leg, I don't know. But like, which one are you inherently good at and which one do you suck at? Because of these three, what I typically find is that you can be good at two of the three, but almost nobody is good at all three of the three. And that raises the question then, how do you get really good at that third thing, especially in the beginning if you're doing everything yourself, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit. So here are the three legs of every business. The first leg is the marketing leg. This is the leg that is responsible for letting the world know that you exist and getting customers into the door. And this is potentially, I struggle to say that any of these legs are more important than the others, because truthfully, like, they're all equally important. You'd get any of them wrong, the thing falls over. But the marketing one is the most important in the beginning, definitely, because until you start getting customers and start getting revenue and start achieving profitability, everything is very, very hard. And it does not matter how good your product is, your service, or anything like that. If you don't have customers coming in wanting the thing, then you're going to just wallow in obscurity. And that's why every business, the number one thing that they have to solve for, especially in the beginning, is overcoming obscurity. And the way that you do that is through marketing. And there's a lot of different ways that you can market. You know, there's digital marketing, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, social media, YouTube, there's TikTok, there's Twitter. There's SEO, there's writing blogs, there's creating a newsletter, there's paid advertising through Google, there's billboards, there's print, there's direct mailers, there's cold calling. Like, there's so many aspects of marketing to get people into the door that you need to, in the beginning, you need to be at least vaguely aware of what they all are. You don't have to like go and try and do all the things. But what I recommend, especially in the beginning, you need to figure out, okay, what is going to be my marketing or my acquisitions channel? How am I going to get customers to know that I exist and to get them to come to me? And in the beginning, just focus in on one or two of those channels. So maybe that's, I'm going to set up my website. I'm going to have killer SEO, and then I'm going to create content, maybe short form content for Instagram. That's what we did for Escape Climbing. Is like, we focused on the website, making it as awesome as possible. And then we created so much content for Instagram, because rock climbing is a very visual activity. And so there was just a lot of opportunity for us to take really awesome photos and videos and get people excited, drive them back to the website. So that was our marketing acquisition channel. As we started to grow and get more sophisticated, we layered in more channels. But in the beginning, we just started with two. Okay. So start there. And this is the one that I believe, as like the owner of the company, you can never fully outsource the marketing. You might be tempted to hand it off to a digital marketing agency or hire somebody in-house and say, like, you're my marketing guy. But you must always keep your finger on the pulse of your marketing, because it is the lifeblood of your company. And more importantly, it's the message of what you're putting out into the world. And you are, at the end of the day, responsible for that message. So even as you start to grow and start to outsource and have a team that can help you with this, you're going to need to stay involved. That's my encouragement to you. I see people that outsource this and start to delegate it. They start to lose their brand position, their messaging, and what makes them unique. And as a result, they struggle to break through that next level of growth. Okay. So that's number one, marketing. That's the first leg. That is in particular the leg that I own in all my companies. I love the marketing side. It's what I'm fascinated with. It's what I obsess over. And so that's the first leg. The second leg is your operations leg. This is the product design. This is the product fulfillment. This is your customer service. This is all the systems and processes that go into creating that item and then shipping it and getting it out to the person, right? So this is everything once the customers come in and place their order, what happens from that point forward. And this is a part that I actually really enjoyed. I didn't think I would, but when I started at Escape Climbing, it was a manufacturing environment where we do a lot of fulfillment, we do a lot of product design. And so it was a crash course in becoming very, very good at operations. And because the more efficiently and lean we could run the company, the more profitable it was. And what I discovered there, though, is that you can read books on operations and processes and product designs and all these things. But unless you are naturally predisposed to thinking operationally and systems and good at product design, like you're probably going to struggle if it's not something you're inherently good at. And so this might be one of the things that you need to figure out. How do I find somebody who is very systems and process oriented, very detail oriented? Because if that's not you, you're going to really struggle, because in the grand scheme, initially we're going to struggle to get people in the door. And so the marketing is going to get them in on the promise of our abilities in the product. The future growth is going to be predicated on how well we fulfilled on that promise that we made those initial customers. Because if we exceed their expectations, they're going to be raving fans. They're going to share it with their friends, and we're going to continue growing as a result. But if our product sucked, then it doesn't matter how good our marketing is. We're eventually going to market through everybody, because nobody's going to come back and buy more, and nobody's going to spread the word, right? So it's going to always be a linear one input of marketing energy for one output of marketing sales. And that's not a way of scaling and growing a company long term. It's just going to burn you out. So to overcome that, we really need to have a good foundation of operations. The product needs to be awesome. Our process for customer service and fulfillment, that needs to be amazing. So that's the next leg. Now, operations is probably the thing. Like if you're thinking about starting a business right now, you maybe already have like some inherent bent towards it, right? Like if you're coming from a W-2, you're an accountant, you're going to go start your own accounting business. Like, cool. You already have some experience with that product. If you're an electrician, you're going to go start your own business. Like, cool. Generally, in the beginning, when you first start, like you have a little bit of mastery in that product design side, because that's what is leading you towards that thing. If you're just trying to make money and you're like, how can I make money? What's the easiest and best way of doing that? And you start going to Amazon to do drop shipping. Well, maybe that won't be your strength, right? And so it just kind of need to figure out what you're working with here. The third and final leg is the finance leg. And this is the leg of all three of them, which it's responsible for, your bookkeeping, your accounting, your HR, all your legal filings, all this stuff. It's like the marketing leg is all about growing the company. The operations is all about maintaining the company. And the finance is all about keeping the other two guys out of jail. Like it's just making sure everything's buttoned up and that you guys are staying legal and compliant. It's also very important, and I learned this lesson the hard way in one of my businesses that failed, is that you got to resist the urge of just trusting somebody else to run the books, to run the finances, to run the numbers. You need to have a pretty good understanding of how to read a P&L, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. If you don't, then you don't speak the language of your business, and that's going to pose problems down the road as you start to grow. Now, one of the most important things that you have to figure out in the beginning, and you don't have to be super sophisticated with this, is you need to learn how to manage your company based off of cash flows. And cash flow is just the difference between, when you make a sale, when you have your accounts payable versus your accounts receivable. What that means is like, I might have to spend $1,000 to have a product shipped to me. And in the meantime, I got to float that, right? Now I have to sell it to a customer and maybe I give them net 30 terms on it. And so I'm not going to actually collect the cash flow from them, though I've made the sale for another 30 days. So all that means is from the time I outlay cash, my $1,000 to make the order to get the initial product versus when I actually get the cash flow in, that could be a couple months period of time. And that can be very problematic if you're running thin margins, if you have high overhead and high costs of doing business. And so understanding your cash flows and how you can shorten and shrink those time periods between when you're outlaying cash and when you're getting money in the door is going to be very important, because cash flow is the lifeblood of a healthy business. And we can go into depth on this topic if you guys would find that interesting. I am going to do a foundational course in the Beyond the Apex University on managing cash flows and building a business. Right now in there, we have in our in the Launchpad, which are our foundational courses, we do have one in there called the Build a Business Challenge, which is a 30-day build a business from scratch challenge. And so if you're interested, if you're at that point right now in your trajectory where you're thinking about launching a business in the next year, or maybe you just recently launched and you're like, did I do everything that I needed to do? That might be a really good thing to go check out. So if you guys are interested in joining the community, that just go to beyondtheapex.com to learn about it. It's fantastic. It's a community of people who are in relentless pursuit of their greatness and everything that entails in terms of like mastering your 4 spheres of influence, which is your mindset, your health, your wealth, and your skills. And so we have tons of resources in there, tons of free courses, tons of paid courses, if that's, if you want to go even deeper into the master classes. But yeah, go check that out. And I do hope that this served you guys. If you have questions, let me know. Shoot me a message, email me, anthony@anthonyvicino.com. If you have questions about your own business and like where your strengths or weaknesses are and what you can do to help grow if you're stagnant or if you're struggling. Now, I mentioned before that you need to evaluate your strengths or weaknesses relative to these 3 stools and how you're going to be predisposed probably to 2 of them. Maybe just one, but probably not all 3. For me, I'm really good at the marketing and I'm pretty good at the operations. I hate the finance. And so what I had to do is I needed to find partners who are good at that. And so my partner, Dan Kruger at Invictus Capital, he's very good at the finance side. So he owns that. He's also good at the operations. So him and I conjointly own that one. But if you're the type of person who's like very, very good at finance, you're not great at operations, you're not very good marketer, like that's going to be one of the first hires or partners that you look to bring on, because at the end of the day, I find it's better to build a bigger pie that you own less of than to own all of the pie. But it's a very tiny little thing. It's not very filling. So don't get hung up thinking that you have to be the one that does absolutely everything. Get out there and network, maybe even find somebody in the Beyond the Apex community and have a conversation and be like, maybe this is gonna be a good partnership. And you just never know who that right person's gonna be. So I'm actually gonna do, I think, a podcast episode on how to find a great partner, because that one's actually very difficult, come to think of it. And a lot of people get it wrong because they just go out what they do is it's like they go to a bar when they're trying to find a girlfriend and they like walk up to the first woman that they see and like, hey, do you want to get married? And it's like, that's not a great way to start. That's not a good pitch, right? And so a lot of people, they'll go to networking events, they'll like meet online, like, hey, do you want a partner? And it's like, no, that's not the way to do it. So I'll maybe do a podcast here in the next couple of weeks where we break down exactly how to find a good partner to do business with. So if you guys would find that valuable, let me know in the comments. Make sure that you leave a rating and a review. And as always, stay hyper-focused, my friend.